Picture this. In 3 years, you are getting ready for your very first job interview. You're getting frustrated because your makeup techniques are not going as planned and you end up being disappointed with your look. You end up canceling the interview because of this frustration and you miss big opportunities. I am here to help you and to make sure that this never happens to you. The average woman is extremely busy and makeup tends to be the very last thing that we all think about. Nonetheless, if you are tired of feeling hopeless and want to boost your confidence that will last all day, then I think this idea is for you. I have been interested in makeup since I was very young. I used to get into my mother's makeup ever since I was probably 3 or 4. She would obviously take it away from me, but that started the, I guess, obsession. And that all started there. And then as I grew up, I decided that I probably just wanted to work in cosmetics because I loved it so much. So I have work experience. I've worked in Nordstrom for Bobbi Brown Cosmetics. So I have sold Bobbi Brown Cosmetics for years, so I'm very familiar with that brand. And then I have also worked in Sephora where I have sold many different brands. So also including Bobbi Brown, but a lot of different brands I have sold from there. And I also would help people and advise people in those job settings. So I definitely know what I'm talking about because I've dealt with many different skin types and issues with skin and, you know, different kind of foundations for different skin types. So I definitely know what I am talking about. So today I'm going to educate every woman listening right now on how to do a full daily makeup routine that takes under 10 minutes to do. I encourage you to be open to this idea and apply these basic steps to your makeup routine once you learn them. So there are 5 whole steps. They're not very long steps. And once you get the hang of them, it'll take like 7 minutes. So the first one is applying primer and finding a good primer for you. So what a primer does is it will keep your makeup on much longer than without having it on. So it's your base of your makeup and it will make sure that your makeup stays on all day. Depending on which primer is for you, really depends on your skin type. So you can either be dry, oily, or combination. You have dry skin if by the end of the day you don't have any oil on your face. So by the end of the day, if you can kind of like blot your face with your hand and there's no oil, that means that you're pretty dry. And if you're oily, that means that there's a lot of oil at the end of the day. So if you blot your face and there's a lot of oil, that means that you're pretty oily. And combination means that you're dry in some places and then you're oily in other places. So maybe you're oily in your T-zone and then maybe you're drier on like the perimeters of your face. So that's what combination means. So now that we know what skin type we are, if you have dry skin, you're going to want a primer that moisturizes your skin more than mattifies it. So a primer that illuminates maybe, but definitely doesn't mattify it. If you have oily skin, you're going to want a primer that mattifies your skin, something that keeps the shine away all day. And if you have combination skin, you could really just pick which primer you want to use depending on which type of skin you have more. So if you're more oily, then I would use a more mattifying primer, but if you're more dry, I would use more of a moisturizing primer, if that makes sense. So the first step is primer. What you're going to do, once you have your primer for your specific skin type, you're going to put it in your hand, rub it on your fingertips, and then apply to your face in circular motions. Okay? The next step is picking a foundation. So a foundation will cover up anything that you're really wanting to cover up, and it kind of just, gives coverage to your whole face, which is really nice because sometimes veins are showing or dark circles, so it's nice to cover those up. Picking a foundation depends on what skin type you are again. So if you have dry skin, you're going to want to pick a luminous foundation. If you have oily skin, you're going to want to pick a mattifying foundation. And if your combination, it's the same idea as with primer. You could pick either or depending on which one you lean more towards, meaning either oily or dry, which is really nice. So once you have your foundation, the way that I would apply it is I would put it out on the back of my hand first, and then I would take a sponge. Sponges are the best tool to use with foundation because it will make a flawless finish, so you'd never see brush strokes or anything. It makes a flawless finish, and it's also more full coverage than usually a brush. So I would use a sponge, and so you put it on your hand, and then you take the sponge, and I just dip my hand in it, and then I start applying it to my face. You can put it all over your face, or you can just start from the center, work out. I work from the center out, and it will also keep it from you won't see any like lines or anything when using a sponge, which is really nice. So the next step after you have your foundation on is to apply blush. So my favorite technique for applying blush is with a blush brush, and all you have to do is tap it into the blush once and then test the pigmentation. So wipe it on your wrist, just dab it on your wrist to see how much pigment is on it, and then once there's not very much pigment on it, just swipe it on the apples of your cheek and work upwards. Don't work downwards. That will bring your whole face downward more, and that's not as flattering. So apples and then work up. The next step is to apply mascara. So depending on how your lashes are, depends on which type of mascara you'll want to use. If you want to lengthen, then get a lengthening mascara. If you want to volumize, then get a volumizing mascara. My tip for mascara is that you want to wiggle it in between all the lashes so that it gets every single one. So yeah. The next step is to fill in your eyebrows. And this is very mandatory as your eyebrows shape your whole face. So the technique that I really like is using a powder because it's very soft and it looks the most natural. Now when using a powder, you do need to use a brush. You can use an eyeliner brush, it works the same way, but you do need a small brush where you can make little fake hairs. So when using a powder, you just dip your brush in, and then you start filling in your brows. It's very quick, it's very easy, and it looks very natural. So I think that one's the best, especially for such a busy woman. So now those are the steps to be completely, to have a full face put together, but still not be over the top. It's very straightforward. It should only take a few minutes. I think I can get mine down to 6 minutes. And that whole routine will make you look very put together. It'll make you feel more confident. It will make other people start to notice that you're like trying much harder. It shows that you're more professional as well. So that's why I love doing makeup. I think it's just so fun, and it's definitely just very relaxing in the mornings for me. So now that you have those 5 basic steps, you need to go out and you need to practice them because you're not going to do really well with this unless you practice it. And it might take a while the very first time you do it, but that's because you're just trying to figure out the techniques at first. But once you get it down and once you understand what you're doing, you'll do so well and you'll feel so much better. And the faster you become at these steps, the faster you can get back to your busy life in a more self-assured way, and you'll feel so much better.